We are live. Hi guys, good morning. Mayde Gomez here. I'm actually at the Cesar Chavez Park. You can see it behind me, right across the street from City Hall. So I'm here because there's a safety, they're calling it the safety traffic saturation operation happening this morning just around this area, and actually it's happening in various areas. I'm going to give you more details about that, but basically Sacramento has had some significant issues when it comes to pedestrian, motorcyclists, and bicyclists breaking the law, and because of that, there's been a rise in the deaths of a lot of folks, folks who have been breaking those laws or just innocent bystanders. So wanted to talk to you more about that and to get more of an insight as to this safety traffic operation that's happening today. I want to introduce you guys to Sergeant Armstrong with the Sacramento PD. So Sarge, tell us more about what you guys are doing out here today.
So we're out here doing a saturation, and it's directly related to pedestrian safety, bicyclist safety, and people riding motorcycles. We're going to spend the next 2 months focusing on enforcement sections to contact drivers or pedestrians or people riding bikes or motorcycles to keep them safe. And so we're looking at sections like distracted driving, drivers that are looking at their phone and not looking at the road, because we've had a lot of accidents related to that. We're looking at speed, we're looking at unsafe turns or failing to yield to pedestrians in the roadway. And we're out here adjacent to this farmer's market where we have hundreds of pedestrians out here crossing, crossing the street, and we're trying to keep our vulnerable riders safe, the people that don't have the protection in riding a motorcycle or on a bicycle or walking. They don't have the protection of being in a vehicle.
That's right. And so we understand that Sacramento has had some significant issues. I mentioned this just a few minutes ago. Can you tell us more about those issues? I mean, you just mentioned the fact that, you know, why you guys are here, but there's also been a rise in the death of pedestrians. Can you tell us more on that?
I can. We had last year, we had 19 pedestrian fatalities. This year, I think we're at 14, with still 5 months to go. So
we're going to equal or probably exceed that number. I mean, from what it looks like, we still have 5 months to go. Or
we do, and it's scary. And I mean, we're always racking our brain and trying to figure out ways to make it safer for our pedestrians. And it's frustrating for us because these are preventable. You know, it's either a driver that's not paying attention or driving too fast, or it's a pedestrian that is walking out into the road and not looking first. And these are preventable tragedies.
And that's a big issue here in Sacramento. I understand that out of, like, you know, the big cities in California, Sacramento has probably one of the biggest issues with all this.
It does. Sacramento has struggled with that for years. We're always up towards the top in vehicle collisions, injury accidents, DUI, driver related collisions. Yeah. And so,
and a lot of folks are going to ask, why? You know, why are we, you know, at the top when it comes down, you know, to it? Why do we have such bad numbers? You know, why? I mean, obviously you guys are here trying to nip it and trying to prevent this from happening. But what would you tell folks who are asking why? Why in Sacramento? What's the issue? What's the problem?
It's the million-dollar question. I mean, it really is. If we could solve that, we all would be a whole lot happier, and I can't explain it. We are a densely populated city with a lot of pedestrian foot traffic, and you know, I feel like with technology, more and more people are on their phones, and I can go out right now on my motorcycle and I can watch, and it will take me seconds to find somebody looking down at their phone while they're driving and not paying attention to the road. So I don't know if that's going up, but I gotta believe that social media, being on the phone, having that technology with your smartphone at your fingertips, whether you're a pedestrian or driving a car, it can lead to some tragic events.
Yeah, unfortunately. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's happening here today. You guys are doing this operation, and it's not only happening here at the Cesar Chavez intersection in this area, but you guys are actually enforcing this at different points of the city. Right?
We are. So right now we have five, soon to be six when I hop on my motorcycle, but 6 of our motorcycle officers are out here focusing their enforcement around these high density events. And they're doing traffic enforcement, which means contacting drivers or pedestrians or people on bicycles or motorcycles and talking to them about distracted driving or speed or failing to yield type sections. We do not get any direction from our management or the chief on writing citations, so that is at our discretion. We advise people.
That's important to know, because a lot of folks, you know, the first thing they'll say is, oh yeah, you know, they're just out there, you know, doing enforcement, meaning giving out citations. But you guys are actually out here, in addition to that, I mean, in addition to having to write citations, but also giving out warnings, actually talking to folks, doing some education.
Absolutely. We get no pressure whatsoever to write tickets. We get nothing from that. We don't get a pat on the back because we wrote more tickets than we did advisals. So it's not about that at all. It's just about contacting the drivers and making a decision on whether they need a citation or don't need a citation. But we spend a majority of our time just advising and educating and talking to them about what they did wrong, because we'll come across a lot of drivers that don't even realize that looking down at their phone to change the music is illegal. They can't have the phone in their hand while they drive. Or pedestrians, we'll talk to pedestrians that think that once they step out on the roadway, cars have to yield to them, and that's not the case. They need to make sure that that there aren't cars in their close proximity before they step out and establish that their presence in the crosswalk. So it's a give and take from both sides, and so we're constantly out there educating on that.
Perfect. Thank you so much for telling us. Can you give us more? I know there's limited information we can get as to exactly the this operation, but I know you guys have units at different points of the city. You guys will be out here, is it 2 weeks? Is that right?
2 weeks, yep, until the 25th. And yeah, sorry, to go back to that question, our motor unit's out here on our regular duty time, but we have officers throughout the city that are being funded by the Office of Traffic Safety, and the OTS, which is part of the state, funds enforcement, visibility, education type events like this. And so we have officers on day shift, swing shift, and graveyard shift that are working throughout the city in we have 6 different patrol districts and doing the exact same thing we're doing right now, focusing on speed enforcement, distracted driving, pedestrian safety, all related to protecting our vulnerable roadway users.
And that's it. That's the goal, right? At the end of the day, I mean, the key word here is safety, trying to keep everybody safe.
It is. It really is. And it's a battle that I've been part of for the last 2 years in this motor unit, and I hope to be here for many years to come. And the goal is for us to see those numbers go down, because in a perfect world, our goal is for people that are on the road that aren't protected to be safer and to not be injured, and for the fatality rate to go down in Sacramento.
And so we've seen, you know, these safety operations happen throughout the year, and just personally and through your experience, have you seen like a decrease in the number after you do this, you know, after you do it, so, you know, and you put the education out there, you warn folks, you let them know, have you seen a decrease in the number of deaths? Does this help?
I don't know. I don't know if it helps, but what I can tell you is when we are out here, for example, we were on Power Inn the other day, and Power Inn has had a number of fatalities from distracted driving or driving too fast or failing to yield, and we will go out there and saturate Power Inn, and I will notice for a number of weeks that I see less and less people on their phones because they know that we're out there. Yeah. So I know it helps, without a doubt. Okay. I mean, there's no question that our enforcement and education out here helps. It's just a matter of having enough of us, having enough people on motorcycles or in patrol cars making those stops, so our drivers constantly are reminded, get off my phone. How fast am I driving? I'm way over the speed limit. Looking for pedestrians, seeing that pedestrians could be in the roadway at any time. So the more of us out there, the better. I mean, in a perfect world, I'd have 50 people on motorcycles throughout the city of Sacramento, and we're not there to write tickets. It's not about that. It's about high visibility and reminding people, just like the DUI checkpoints, high visibility. It's not the number of arrests we make, it's the visibility and people being reminded, don't drink and drive. Same thing as the distracted driving and the safety of our motoring public and bicycling public and our pedestrians.
What's the number one citation or the number one issue and education that you have to give people? What's the number one issue that you've seen out here so far?
I think every motor officer might tell you a different story on that. Me personally, because I enforce probably half the time that our full-time officers do. Biggest thing I see is the distracted driving and stop signs. Stop signs, people just roll right on through. Oh. And a great example was yesterday, somebody's rolling through and then they slam on their brakes midway through the intersection because they realized that a bicyclist was already stopped at a stop sign and starting to go through. And that's the whole point of the stop sign section. You need to come to a complete stop so your brain can have time to take all threats in: a pedestrian, a dog, a bicyclist, a motorcycle, a car. And if you don't come to a complete stop, your brain can't process the information that quick. So stop sign and distracted driving, without a doubt, is a huge issue. And we hear rumors that it's improving. Some days I think it's incredible. I don't see anybody on their phones, and other days it's every 5 cars somebody's looking at their phone and operating their phone, which is illegal. You can't drive and have the phone in your hand.
Technology, man, technology. We're a slave to it. Okay, so let's talk about those fees, those fines, because they can be pretty hefty.
They can, absolutely. When distracted driving came out, I think they told everybody it's a $25 fine, and it was. But once all of the other fees that are added into it, it boosted up to $158.
What are we talking about, the fees? Are we talking about like administration fees?
I don't exactly know where they go. I don't. I wouldn't even want to speculate that. Okay. When I see the website, because you can go on the Carroll Miller Justice Center website and you can go in and you can see how much a citation is, and it will say the fine is $25. The fee is, the original fine for the violation is $25, but for example, distracted driving today in 2018 is $172. So you can be fooled by the fact that you think it's only a $25 fine. You know, a speeding
but in reality, it's almost $200.
Absolutely, and it's a lot. You know, when I'm on stops, people will ask me, well, how much is that? Well, that's $240 for that stop sign or speeding ticket, and it hurts for me to tell them. And so that, you know, it's a tough thing being a traffic officer, because there are times where fines, you know, giving a citation is appropriate, and other times where I think, you know, they're just slow California stop, rolling through the stop sign, maybe they don't need a citation, versus the person that rolled through at 20 miles per hour with total disregard for the motoring public.
That's interesting that you bring that up, because I've always wanted to ask an officer about their discretion. How do you know when to give somebody a citation or give somebody a warning? How do you determine that? It's great that you bring that up, and I like your point. Is there like guidelines when it comes to that?
There aren't at all. It's the officer's discretion completely. And sometimes we have some officers that are very, you know, they don't want to write any tickets, and others that write tickets every time. But we try to talk to our motor officers, and I think we're all on the same page, is that it really depends on the violation. It depends on the driver. Do we feel like that driver, you know, didn't really understand the law and we're just going to educate them this time? Or do we feel like they rolled through a stop sign with 2 pedestrians that were in it with total disregard at 15 miles per hour, and that's probably going to be a citation.
Right. Wow. This is a great conversation. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, because we have Sergeant Armstrong here with us today, and obviously he's gonna have to jump on his bike here in a few minutes, but while I have him, we can ask hopefully all the questions you guys want to know when it comes down to these safety operations. Real quick, I know I saw it, somebody wrote it's a sting operation. It's not, it's a safety operation. We want to make sure we distinguish between those two.
Yeah, I'm glad that they brought that up. It's definitely not a sting. A sting would be when you're hiding and you're waiting to pounce on something. I would describe that as a sting. This is just focusing traffic enforcement in a certain area. So when you see motorcycles and police cars all over the place and they're doing traffic enforcement, we're doing the exact same thing. Right now we're just focusing in a certain area, and we're going to leave you here in 5-10 minutes, and then we're going to go over to another area that's a densely populated pedestrian area, maybe over in Midtown. Or we'll head back over to Power Inn. So we're constantly moving and trying to get the word out there and to educate and contact drivers and pedestrians and people on bicycles and motorcycles, and try to get them to just be safer. Slow down, pay attention, put all of your brain power into walking, riding, or driving, and not splitting it, because we're at work, we're going from here to here, we're at school, and we're trying to be very efficient, but efficiency can be trouble when you're taking away brain power and not watching for pedestrians on the road.
Very well said, and I think at the end of the day, we all just want to get home to our families, and that's the most important thing, right? For everybody involved.
And these things, the key thing is they are preventable.
Yes.
You know, when a collision happens, somebody probably made a mistake, or two people made a mistake, and it was the perfect storm. And if we could just remind everybody, you're in a car, please pay attention. 100% focus on what you're doing until you get to where you're going. If you need directions, pull over. It takes you 1 minute to pull over, look at your map, figure out where you're going, and then you can drive on.
That's right. And I got to tell you, we're all guilty of it. Don't lie. We're all guilty of it. So I know I've done it before. I definitely am trying not to do it because obviously safety is the most important thing, and you don't want to be the cause of, you know, fatality, even though it may be accidental. Point is, be safe out there. Sergeant Armstrong, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. This was an awesome interview. I'm pretty sure folks will want to know more, and there's more officers right there.
Hey guys.
So
thanks for joining us. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. And we're gonna have more on this during the 5 o'clock newscast. So we'll see you then. Have a good day.